Hey, you're listening to Cassandra
and Jennifer with Authentically Woo Woo,
where we talk about spirituality, cosmos, balance, and living authentically.
Today's episode is Diving Deeper, the who, what, why, deeper version. So, as I've said before, my name is Jenn, and I am a photographer by trade, as well as a blogger. I am a sun Aries, a moon Aries, and a rising Cancer. I was raised Catholic, and I was a very, very involved Catholic. We went to church every Sunday. We did the life ministry of singing. My family were very involved, and I met my husband and so many lifetime friends. I'm really, truly, I feel blessed that, that was my raising. There's, pros and cons with everything, which of course, we'll go, as we're diving in deeper, we'll talk about. But one of the things that we also always had is a very, very strong spirituality. The women in my family, we talked about spirits. We talked about, just to kind of our roles in life, some things that the church doesn't always talk about. Another thing that the women that we always did was tarot, and I remember as a kid watching my mom, do tarot readings for herself, and then when I was 13, I started doing readings for myself. And I remember I would use her card deck, and it was cool. She would show me how to do everything. And then one of the biggest things is when I was 18, I remember, is that I went to Salem, and I was oh my gosh, wow, what better place to buy.
I didn't know that you went that early.
Yeah. Yep. And so I have my first Rider and Waite deck from Salem from when I was 18. So that's still my specialty. That's what just because I have been raised with it, that's what I feel drawn to. And then of course astrology, very much so, that has been a big thing.
You're saying your grandma did your natal chart.
Yes.
When you were born? Or so shortly pretty early in life, right?
Yeah, I'm sure she did, when I was younger. But then for my 19th birthday, she presented me with this packet, and it was my full natal chart.
So cool.
That she had gotten done from this famous astrologer. And of course 19, even though growing up with it, I didn't really fully appreciate it then, but I held on to it.
Yeah.
And
was she in the Catholic Church?
No.
As well?
No, Granny wasn't. So Catholicism came from my maternal grandfather.
Okay.
He very strict German family, very Catholic, and my mom, my grandmother would be considered Pentecostal.
Okay, that's more my upbringing. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And my mom, she was able to, she grew up in Miami, and she was able to test out the different religions to really try to see what fit for her. And she went back to her Catholic roots.
Gotcha.
And then David, my brother, and I were raised in the Catholic faith. But even David and I would go to friends, because our father was Southern Baptist. So, we would go to Baptist church every once in a while with Dad, or more so with my childhood best friend. I would go to church with her on the Sundays that I was spending the night at her house or something.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I think it's neat that, some of these you at least heard of or saw some of these things growing up. How that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's my story. So, into all of the things, all things spiritual. Now I a firm believer in God, as the creator, and I believe in angels, and we have our guardian angel, and I believe in spirit guides, and how we have our soul team that really is meant to help us here as throughout our lifetime while we're here. And I think most of us have just like come so far away from that thought, and we're just like meandering through life like, what the hell am I doing? And it's not supposed to be like that. Like we're supposed to like rely and ask for help and have our soul team like help us.
Yeah.
So what about you? Tell me a little bit more about you.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. So, well, like we talked about before a little bit, my name is Cassandra. I am a floral designer. I do wedding stuff. I'm very, very into anything creative, I guess you could say. You know, that's been a big part of my journey. So my signs, I love astrology. That's a big one for me. I am an Aries sun. I am a Capricorn moon, and I'm a Libra rising, which might sound foreign, but it's so exciting to like realize how much all that ties into. I know for me, when I figured it out, I was like, oh my gosh, I make sense in some way. So you talked a little bit about your upbringing. So my upbringing, it's fun. So I was brought up, and it's funny because we didn't have much of, I guess you'd say, any discussion of religion or whatnot until probably I was about our children's age, which like 13? Yeah, 13, 14 years old. So it unfortunately didn't have a really awesome impact on my life. It was a very, very strict religious background. So we weren't allowed listening to music, really. We weren't allowed watching TV. When I was growing up, it's like Saved by the Bell. And like like I would have that on, and if I got caught, like that was like major, major thing. And then as far as music, as much as I tried to do everything that like they wanted me to, I remember, do you remember DC Talk or Tony?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tony, what is his name now? He's gone up on, it's like Toby Mac. There we go. And
I didn't realize that's who.
Yeah, he was like a part of DC Talk.
Okay,
and so when I was growing up, it was Jesus Freak. They put this album, and I had these like cut off shorts, and it said like, I had like puff paint, and I put like Jesus Freak on it and everything. But that wasn't even good enough. Like even that music, I remember my mom being like, they don't say God enough. They don't say Jesus enough. That's not Christian enough. So it was just like, okay, it was challenging. And speaking of that not being good enough, different things. And it's just, I think one of the things, and I know we were talking about this earlier today, that is challenging is like that idea of just the feeling flawed, like just from the get-go, from an early age, like you're a sinner and that's not Christian. The Christian music wasn't Christian enough, Crazy. We were very isolated. A lot of that, unfortunately, was because what we saw at home was not what everybody else saw at church. So we weren't really able to talk. I mean, if we were caught, like if church was over and we were caught like talking to another adult or a child for any length of time, it was like this, oh my gosh, feeling very, very isolated, very separate. So I came out into the world. Oh, friends, that was another thing. Friends, it was difficult to keep friends because it was like, oh, well, they're not meant for you. They're bringing you down. They're this or that. So dating, friends, adults, like just a lot, you get the point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like pretty much all of that. So needless to say, I came out into the world feeling like I had no clue who I was, but whoever that was, it was terrible. You know,
Obviously
I was
not good enough.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And then just no social skills whatsoever. I remember my very first friend, which like just it felt more like dating, like trying to like just get the courage to talk to someone. It's like, you know, you shouldn't have that anxiety at I was like 18, 19 years old. Just like that was my first friend I made, my friend Jeannie.
Who's still around, so you didn't scare her off.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't scared her off yet. She's seen so many sides of me. So anyways, that's a little bit about my upbringing. Where I'm at now and the journey I've gone through has been really different, really spinning a different direction, and it's been hard. Like it's been hard, but at the same time it's been very very like just like, oh my gosh, this is who I am. You know, astrology has been a big part of that. So I'm really big into astrology. I'm starting to really learn a little bit about human design. That's big for me as well. So I do, as far as divination, I love crystals. I love crystals. And I also like the tarot and the oracle cards as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a little bit of my story. So yeah.
I forgot to mention that, like, so as far as like us and so it was very separated of how, like, you talked about how you were very separated from the outside world, and even like the church community, like you guys were separated from. So we had, you know, we were very involved in the Catholic Church and very, very Catholic, but at the same time we had this like side of with tarot, with the spirituality, with like the dreams and spirit animals, all of that.
That's
like,
awesome.
That we kept hidden though.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember Mom telling me like, okay, this is what we do as a family, but we don't tell anyone about it. And even much so that, like, you know, we're below the Bible Belt. We're in Florida, so like Florida, I feel like is a melting pot, and we have, you know, we have so many different cultures, and so we're not as bad as I feel like some of the other southern states, but still we're in a small, you know, I grew up in a small town of where my mom never wanted us to be involved in like a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was bad enough alone that I was Catholic. And
I remember you talking about experiencing some things
yes.
early in age just from being identified as Catholic.
Yeah, in middle school. There was a kid who I thought was like a really good friend, and he like ganged up, circled around me, and was like, "Oh, you're not a Christian, you're not a good person because you're Catholic and you worship false deities," and like all of this stuff.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, and I'm like, oh, like, you know me, like I try to be the best person, like it was
which
crazy.
Once again is sad, that religious label of even in that,
yes.
you know, it's not identified as what someone else identifies
it's not
as.
Christian enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
It's
unfortunate.
It is. It really is. Because, you know, it's like, what are those core values is to, you know, love one another. And so like the tarot stuff, like I kept that side of me hidden for years. I'm 35, and this is like me truly coming out about that. Yeah, like I've talked to girlfriends, and you know, of course my family and I talk openly about it, but even like my husband, like when we were first married, it was like, he was like, "Oh, you keep on the box over there," and you know, like I would stop, like I wouldn't continue doing anything if I heard, like, you know, because I didn't want to make him feel weird, because it was just this like hush thing that I felt like I couldn't open up
to
the world, and I
that's
couldn't
more
show.
It's more than not is what
Absolutely. So what are we? Cassandra mentioned that we're both entrepreneurs. I'm a photographer. Cassandra's a florist. So not only am I a photographer, but I also have a blog that I started.
Has it been that long?
It's been 5 years.
Wow.
So the yesterday was the 5th anniversary of an accident, which I won't get into because then they'll just make our podcast like so much longer today. But
we'll get to it definitely though. It's important. Yeah.
But long story short, got into a bad car accident that involved a hay roll falling onto our car.
That's the name.
Yes, that's the straw that broke my back. And I actually bought that blog title when I was feeling really good on Vicodin. And I forgot that I had bought that website until like a year later when it was like, do you want to renew? And I was like, oh my God.
I did that thing. Yeah.
I did that. Oh, wow. Okay. And so I tried blogging on that, and it's all about like healthy food, my paleo journey just through finding happiness.
That's helped me some too. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So that's what I am. So let's see. What about for you, Miss Cassandra?
So yeah. As far as like you said, entrepreneur, trying to just find that sweet spot. I feel like, it's important. I recognize I'm starting to recognize my gifts as gifts. I think I didn't mention this, but growing up, creativity just wasn't really, my dad was creative, but it just wasn't the same. It's like, that's just, I've heard people say, "Oh, that's just what you do on your weekends or your hobby that you do when you've done your real work." But so it felt really good opening my business, and I feel in a lot of ways that it's been very successful for me. I struggled with the balance a lot, but that's a journey recently. That's really the pieces are coming together, and I'm starting to kind of understand, which is why we're wanting to do this podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And talk about the things, because I know for me, like, part of what I do, one of the best, you know this too, you've experienced it, it's like the styled shoe is like the fun, exciting, like this experience, but then it's like realizing, that's great, but that's not life. It's like just this pull to always look your best, always put out your best, always, have
idealism of perfection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think this industry has a lot of that. It has a lot of, coordination and things being aesthetically pleasing and looking like you have everything together all the time, because that's what you have to do. Yeah. And I'm over here like, hey guys,
what is it? You fake it till you make it.
Oh, right. Yeah. And so I'm like, is anybody else feeling a little bit maxed out, overwhelmed, pressured, comparing themselves, like all the things? Because please tell me I'm not like in the corner alone.
No, not at all. And I think that too is that, like, so as creatives, like, Cassandra's extremely creative. I'm extremely creative. I remember I would pull stuff out of the trash can as a child and like make arts and crafts with it. Crafts, not craps, but crafts. Sometimes it was crappy. But like, I remember my grandfather had this hula doll that I made out of a toilet paper roll, and he had it in his windowsill until he died.
That's awesome.
And it was like,
it meant something. Yeah, it was important and treasured.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was something that was treasured.
Him and my mom were my biggest cheerleaders, always, about pushing me to be creative and
That's awesome.
And I thought I was on a creative level, and then I met you. And I was like, oh my gosh. but I diverse. I digress. So like as creatives within our career, when a career is creative based, it's not just a career. Like it is a lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we live, we eat, we breathe whatever we're doing. So if we have someone saying, I don't really like that, we're like, okay, you don't that's fine, that's nothing, it's cool, it's whatever. But we're dying on the inside. And so it's like we put so much pride into what we do
and pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And then we're like putting it on this platter for the world to see.
Feels vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable, and we're proud of it. And like I know for me, like I want that like positive like feedback and stuff, because like I've put my everything into it. And so that's exhausting.
Yes.
That's extremely exhausting.
That is what I am learning. My struggle with balance is just because, like you said, it is a very vulnerable state and a way of living. But I'm realizing that what I was lacking with my upbringing and everything was that sense of identity within, and accepting I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and and that I don't lose the understanding that this is my gift just because it's not everybody else's cup of tea. And that's been hard. There's been it's easy to say, but it has been harder than you would think. I don't know. At least it's felt that way. But I'm learning with that my balance, my struggle with balance is coming into alignment a lot better. And that's just been
you are
great.
You are. So like, yes. When we were in the industry together, I know it's so funny because like, I would see myself. I'm like, okay, I've got to calm down. I've got to pace myself. I am getting burnt out. And then it was like, I would see it in you.
Oh gosh.
And then you calmed down and you were like fantastic. And then you were like, girl, you need to slow your roll. And I was like, but why? I can do all the things. All the things. And it's like, it's been this like really cool, and so like you can't see me, but I'm doing this push and pull movement with my hands of like how we'll feed off on each other and like a mirror, and so kind of be like, oh, okay, you're right. I do need to calm
I absolutely
down.
Like you. You definitely had a very pivotable. I make up my own words sometimes.
This is why we get along.
We need our own dictionary. But you were definitely a key part in that moment. I just remember all the times that I would just like bawl on the phone with you and just be maxed out all the time. And I remember when things started to come clear, and I remember having the first conversation with Dale and sitting down and trying to talk to him about it. And he said, Jennifer said, we need to have an intervention and we need to like talk to you because it was that bad. It was just that bad. And I mean, at that stage of my life, I wasn't really eating. I wasn't caring for myself. I remember your birthday gift one year. You got the like Publix delivery for me. So my groceries, so I could actually have real food, because like I just wouldn't care for my body. I wouldn't eat, and I'd go to pick up, my son from school, and I'd swing by McDonald's, get like a super freaking huge sweet tea, and like get some food, and we're like, okay, that'll last me till tomorrow at 3, or whatever. Just not stopping, never stopping, and just. It was an addiction for me. It just absolutely, I'm learning now, it was like a very addictive thing. So I know one of the things we wanted to talk about was, our roles in each other's lives. And that was definitely you had a big key in that. And then also, like, all the little seeds you planted, you know, like we talked the other day about like the time when I came over and we were in the pool and you were, you know, I asked a question and I still remember you talking and you're like, so this is what I believe, you know, I believe in energy and like, and I remembered all the things. And Dale even asked you questions throughout time and, open, you know, so all the little.
So Dale is Cassandra's husband.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I'll just be very open. I always felt very comfortable with Cassandra. And so like those were like, you know, she talks about the pool and like the little mustard seeds, you know, of like how I believe like that was huge for me to tell anyone, right? Because like that was a hidden side of me that I didn't discuss with anyone. And so and you know, like my journey has progressed and has deepened and changed a little bit throughout the years of, you know, my beliefs. And I'm constantly, I believe that we're here to learn, right?
Yes.
So I'm always going to strive to learn, to do better, you know, just to be the best person that I can possibly be. But I remember like Dale would ask questions and I'll be like, well, like, I'll be completely honest.
Yeah. And it's funny when he asks questions because it's not like you picture him asking those questions.
No, yeah. And I guess you'd have to, like, know Dale, too. And for him to, like, he's just this quiet, really easygoing guy. And, like, for him to be like, so, Jen, like, what do you believe about blah, blah, blah? And then I would be blah, 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 blah. And he'd be like, oh, okay, all right then. But like I never felt judged or anything.
He'd ask questions. The last time the last set was the soul contract stuff, and we got into Mercury and Saturn returns, and it was
all
fun.
Of the things,
yeah.
And it was hilarious because like his comment that I absolutely loved was, you know, Jen, I'm just gonna be really honest with you. He was like, I thought you were a little crazy. I mean, we know you're crazy, but like, I thought that you were like, you know, like a little crazy, but yeah, you know,
there's
I was
something
just like,
to this.
But yeah, but you know, we just figured, oh, well, that's just Jen.
Just Jen.
But it was like the numbers. I know we talked about that was like with the
that's
numerology
right, because he
and
sees
stuff.
Numbers. Like Jen all the time. You all the time see numbers. Like it's like 555. You know, I'm like I've never in my life had that happen, and Dale has that happen to him a lot too. Yeah. So you call it angel numbers.
I do. Yeah. So that's like how like my angels, my spirit guides, like they can communicate with me quickly and get my attention or through numbers. But I'm also the person that as like a baby, my mom always tells a story, like as a baby in the high chair, like I was counting and doing multiplication with my peas. Like I love numbers. Like my birth time, I should say, is 10:37 a.m. Well, 10 minus 3 equals 7. 7 plus 3 equals 10. Like, I mean, that's like just, but that's how, you could tell me a number and I'll remember it forever.
That's
awesome. And it's just, I love numbers. So,
that's awesome.
Of course, they're going to use that to speak to me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So, we talked about in episode 0 of how we met. And do we want to say that story again?
I don't know. I think we're good.
All right. So hey, if you want to know how we met, big cliffhanger. Go listen to episode 0. But so as we said earlier, like well, no, we didn't say this. So I'm a photographer. I will say that I am the photographer I am today because of Cassandra. Cassandra was a photographer in the beginning too. And she introduced me to this like wonderful group of women, and it's all local community.
You modeled for us.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I suckered Adam. So Adam's my husband, and
It was a long day. In the hot.
in the August, September weather. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was for a workshop of how many, like 20 like photographers?
There was a bunch. Yeah. It was a bunch.
So huge styled shoot. They needed a model, and I was like, oh yeah. And so I was doing. I started out as a seamstress whenever my babies were little, and then I started taking pictures of like the outfits, the costumes, whatever that I would create. And then the parents were like, oh my gosh, that's really cute. Can you take a picture of like my family? And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how it started.
Absolutely. So
cool.
Adam bought me my first camera as you need something better to take pictures of your creations with. And
that's cool.
And he's always, it's funny because Adam, he's like Dale, he doesn't say a whole lot, but like the things that he does say are pretty profound. And it's like one of the things that he ever said that I'll never forget is we would go to this photographer for family photos, and I thought that she was just amazing. And I was like, oh gosh, I could never do like work as good as hers, blah, blah, blah. Again, that comparing.
Mm-hmm.
And
we gotta stop doing that.
I know.
Yeah.
And so Adam's like, you could totally do this. And he's like,
That's
you
cool.
could be a photographer.
Shout out to supportive husbands.
Right?
Yay.
Yes. And so I was like, oh, I don't know, that whole self-doubt and everything. So anyway, meet Cassandra, and she just like completely changes my path. And I remember, all right, so I have a Minnie Mouse in my notes. And so, like, Cassandra is my pusher. She doesn't know that she's my pusher. She doesn't even try to be my pusher, but she's my pusher. And that's saying a lot, too, because I'm a double Aries, right? Like,
I was just going to say that. You're a double Aries.
Yeah. I'm a double Aries with a rising Cancer, so that just means that I'm going to do it balls to the walls while crying. While feeling all of the feelings.
All the things. Feel all the things.
And so, I have, like, a pretty good, like, inner, not guidance, but, yes, but of where, like, determination. There we go. And so, but it's, like, it's different where I would limit myself. Again, I'm not good enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm that whole mantra of I'm not enough. And that was just replayed constantly, which is so funny because it was never, in my family, it was never anything that, like, my mom I was raised by a single mom, that was never anything that she ever instilled in us.
Right.
It was instilled through
others.
Actions from others that made me feel that way at a super young age. And then that just becomes, a core fear or this narrative that I've played on a reel throughout my life of I'm not enough. So, I saw like the amazing styled shoots. I had never seen a styled shoot before. And I remember I was like, I'm going to put together a styled shoot. And you may not even remember this, but it was a Minnie Mouse shoot. And I used Carrie's daughter, which Carrie is our mutual friend that introduced us together. And so this was when I was making my transition into photography. And so I had sewn this like,
that's cool.
The vintage Minnie Mouse
a
dress.
Cool level to what you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. And so where it brought in like that red and yellow or, the vintage, I'm putting in quotations, Minnie Mouse versus the pink, which is what the kids now know of. But so anyways, I put together this like whole styled shoot and I was so excited. And I remember I showed you and you were so supportive. But what's like,
I feel bad that I don't remember. I've got a terrible.
No. But what was super funny is that like you were like so supportive and you're like, yeah, you did a great job. And then I realized I could have done a lot better.
Oh, gosh.
But no.
Yeah,
it wasn't not in a bad way, at all. It was like amazing because I think we went back on like some ideas and it's like you're like helping me grow as far as like the limits are endless, right? Limitless. And so that's like you've always like for me within our friendship, like I always feel like you're not even trying, but like you push this perfection, and that sounds
I think I know where
off.
you're coming from,
but it's like you have the Midas touch, right? So like everything, don't get clumped.
I know you see it, right? You see it.
But she does.
Come on, Jay.
I'm sorry. She has this Midas touch of like everything. I'm not gonna look at you.
Don't look at me.
everything she touches just turns to gold. You can make, so the whole saying of like, oh, don't try to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Well, Cassandra can. She can make that silk purse, and she can make it look freaking amazing. And I love that. And that's inspiring, which is what you do. You're inspirational, and I love you.
I feel like I'm at a point in my life, at least, I can hear these things and kind of, I feel gratitude. You know what I mean? I feel gratitude. I feel like there was a time where those things could be said and I would just like feel completely uncomfortable and not identify at all.
I know, because I would tell you and it would make you completely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I figured if I just told you all the time, I would
just
desensitize
like
you.
Yeah, just like, here we go, podcast. Here, Cassandra. Oh my God. Well, thank you. And it's hard because I think, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, that inner self and, and I think that's amazing trait, for you. It's like I have like my before I realized my life was a shambles brain, and then my after my life was, trying to pick up the pieces brain. So I'm sorry I don't remember that, but kudos
and that
to you.
That was a shambles time too.
Oh yeah, that was like towards the beginning of all the Yep. But kudos to you to be able to like, that's a big step to like self-reflect and be like, you know what, like this or that, and being able to look at it and not lose. I mean, how many of us could hear that advice and just want to stop? Yeah. I mean, I felt that recently in the last year, of feeling like I put my best out there and it wasn't good enough, and just I didn't have that inner self like you did to say, oh, you know what, this is what I did good and this is what I can maybe improve upon, where for me, I think that's what's made my journey hard, is not having that, to where, someone, heaven forbid, said something, then but I sought all of my sense of worth as a person within the validation I received from others. So if they didn't value it, then once again, goes back to, like you said, must not be a worthy person, must not be good enough, might as well stop there. I mean, that's how strong is that to like pick up and be like, yeah, okay, how about this? And that just, it's encouraging to hear, because that's hard.
But it is. It is hard. And I feel like we, a lot of humanity like stops once the going gets tough.
Yeah, it's just, that's it. We're not good enough. It wasn't meant to be, whatever reasons or excuses we tell ourselves. Yeah, goodness. Oh, wow.
So, okay, so why are we doing this? And it goes back to finding the balance as a creative, because as we talked about before, because being an entrepreneur is tough, and learning from those lessons, not stopping when the going gets tough, but always remembering that balance. And I think the balance comes whenever we are living authentically. Yay, right?
Authentic.
And
go team authentic.
So, all right. Like, I will say authentically is still a little tough for me. Because like in the industry, in the industry, the creative industry, whatever, segment of it that we are.
Because it applies to a lot. It doesn't matter what. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the entrepreneur, period, whether you're, in real estate to, I don't know, anything. It's so easy, I think, nowadays to be consumed by our career, of like getting on that hamster wheel and living in that rat race of going to work, working all day, coming home, it's just like stress and just this like negative
We're meant for so much more.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say this like monochromatic like way of living, and I just like it's just sad. And I was totally there. Like I was there, and I'm, it's so easy to slip back into the, oh my gosh, I am working all of the time. I'm working, because with my job, 90% of it is on the back end with computer work and everything. And so, editing in bed again. And it's like, okay, no, I've got to stop. I've got to put limits. And so living authentically, of like, okay, you know what? This is my time to work. This is my time for my family. And most importantly, like, this is the time that I'm going to set aside for myself so that I can be the best person.
Right.
And
your cup isn't empty.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's where the whole balance comes from, is that like, right, if we're balanced, if our cup is full, then we can do those other things without it draining us.
Yeah.
And so as moms, as parents, period, but, we have little people that need us, and, with our families and the careers and everything, that we're constantly doing things that if we ever do anything for ourselves, we feel selfish.
Right.
And that shouldn't be the case. Like, self-care should be our top priority. Yeah. So that we do have that balance.
I think that so we're here, you talk about being authentic. And I think one of the things that I've discovered for me, the pull of what is being authentic, like and I realize, I don't know about you, I realize for me, I felt like, that just meant the people that were strong enough and had their crap together enough to be like, hey, and come back out and be more seen. I realized, like, in my life, wanting to be hidden. And I think, you talk about work and being, the different things, this and that. I don't know. What would you, being authentic, would you think that's around about the same? What's your definition? What would you think of?
Yeah, like, absolutely. Like, I think that goes back to that whole fake it till you make it thing, that even the people that we look up to that just, have their shit together.
Yeah.
I think on the inside, we're like,
yeah.
They're like, nope, we're just, trying to make do.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the biggest thing, is that we are all just trying to make do and trying to live our best lives to be the best person that we can be. And
I think some of the coolness comes from that, of like, and like I said, for me, is discovering what you bring to the table. You know what I mean? Discovering, okay, who are you? I mean, I know for me, it took a long time to decide or figure out or learn, because that wasn't encouraged, and so, but I think then the hard part is, I'm realizing how much, like, if you realize this is who you are, this is who you're meant to be. And I know for me, I talked about astrology has been a big part of that. And it's funny because I don't know if you've had this, but whatever wherever the wind takes me learning, it's like, I know your mom's really into numerology, and, whether it's numerology, astrology, human design, which I don't know how many people know about that. I feel like it's not talked as much, but it kind of has this chakra, element mixed with like an astrology to it. I'm learning, so I'm not like the spokesperson by no means, but my point is, no matter what I look at and whatever, it's been so neat to me to find out, oh my gosh, this makes sense. This is this is, and for me, it was like a lot of things that I saw looked at as flaws. It brought it into a different light. And it's like I started to view them as strengths. But it doesn't matter what it is. It's all saying the same thing for me. Would you say you've experienced the same with the things you've learned?
Absolutely. Like, I kick myself in the butt but there's a double-edged sword there too of I've told you before, my grandmother had this whole beautiful natal chart done specifically for me from an astrologer, and I never looked at it.
Yeah.
And like looking back at it now, married with children, I'm like, why the hell did I not look at this? And I'm like, I could have saved myself so much heartbreak, so much trying to figure out who I was, why I did certain things, why I felt certain ways, why just like all of the things. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, my life could have been so much easier. But then in that same breath,
would it be the same?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, like, I have a stubborn Taurus sun, and
mine's my Capricorn moon
Okay.
Yeah. Same thing.
So, well, my sun, like, S-O-N. So like, Ethan.
Sun. Yeah. Not sun.
No, yeah. Sun. My stubborn Taurus child, he's that kid that, like, you can tell till you're blue in the face, hey, don't do that. You're going to get hurt.
But he has to.
He has to do it. Mm-hmm. He has to do it. And then go, oh, well, I just got hurt. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I tried saving you. So I feel like my guardian angel, my spirit guides are like, oh my God, here's Jen doing this again. And if she would just listen to us or, whatever it is. And, yeah, so
I think a lot of times people think of astrology and stuff like that as just like your sun sign or just so basic level, and it's like so much deeper than that, and it tells like a full story.
It does.
And it's funny because like I know people tend to attach free will and get confused with astrology. I don't know. I don't see it that way. Like it's not so definite on things. It's more
I sit there and tell you, oh, you're gonna die when you're 80
exactly
or anything
exactly
like that. No, it's giving the ingredients.
Right, exactly. But it does tell me, like the Aries and meant to, stand out. I mean, I've tried to hide for so many years, it's like, no, you're supposed to know who you are and, and it's like these journeys help shape. But I know for me and understand, it's all over my chart that I'm creative, like no matter what it is,
insanely.
And so it's like, but going back to again, like being raised, I had a teacher say, oh, you're not meant for college, you're just not that material, and I never was, as I wanted to have something, but like I never knew what my something was, and it just wasn't valued. Creativity wasn't valued in the
it wasn't in our generation.
Right. No. And so it's like that for me, a lot of that is looking at it and being like, oh my gosh, this is exactly, who I am and who I'm meant to be. And I think that realizing that allows you to come out and be more authentic, but I think that, the hard part that I'm feeling right now is it's like, I'm having this big aha moment and I want to talk about it. Yeah. But then it's like, I know I was mentioning the other day, it's like this feeling like I'm in an empty room that's like shouting, hey, I guess what, I finally know who I am. And we're meant to be abundant, and we're meant to be, happy, and we're meant to be all these things. And, it's okay to talk about the things that are imperfect and the challenges, and if we don't talk about it, then what just happens? We just keep going on wanting to blend in, and watching the people that are speaking up and thinking, wow, that's amazing. They've been so fortunate to be able to, but it's not that. You don't have to have it all together to be authentic.
No.
And by being honest and being transparent and being candid, you just really open up, I think, and encourage others to relatable material to help,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I have, so this, okay, I'm trying to think of like how to say this without sounding braggy, because unless you know me, but like I've had other photographers say, "Oh my gosh, like I like you're on like a whole other level." And I'm like, "A level crazy?" Because that's what I feel. Like I feel like, and I'm like, "No, what? No, that." And then it's like,
no,
how like
I totally get it.
You and I put people are, these ideas of what should be on this pedestal. Like I think that we all put people on a pedestal, and until, because that's the thing in our society, right? We don't say, "Oh, hey, you know what? I did this and it was amazing." But what you don't know,
because it's frowned upon. It's frowned upon.
Exactly. Like, but what you don't know is that I totally like failed 20 times trying to produce this.
Exactly. Because we don't talk about those things. We don't talk about those. Yeah.
So that's what we want to do, right? You and I, like, we want to talk about those, like, what is the best teacher failing at something so that you learn from it.
Exactly. I had a similar situation too, and I know exactly what you mean, where, someone was trying to encourage me to do something that, I would love. And, I was like, I can't, who am I sort of feeling.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, while you're saying that, I have these people over here who are saying to me, oh, well, you're used to working with or doing XYZ, and they're doing the same thing. Like, we're all doing the same thing. That's why I was like, if we could just like claim, it's not selfish, it's not egotistical to like accept and claim certain, who you are.
Yeah.
And if we all stopped doing all of that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. All the labels, the labels,
we can all be wonderful.
Yes.
We can all be special.
Yeah. In our own little way. Because that is why we are born with gifts.
Yep.
So that's like, it's something that like I tell my children. Katerina, our daughter, like, she is amazing at drawing, and especially
word art. I remember seeing some of her word art stuff, and I was like, what? I can't do anything like that. And she just, it was,
like 10 or something. Something ridiculous. And she's like, oh my gosh, like the makeup, like she'll like play and do like different, like, costume makeup type things. And she's like so talented, and she's like, oh, well, anyone can do that. And I'm like, no, baby. This is a difference. Like, we each have a special gift that we're born with, multiple gifts, we all have multiple gifts, and they come so easy to us that we dumb them down, and we're just kind of like, it's crazy.
Discredited.
It's like, exactly. It's like we're always like striving to be something that we're not, like, because what we are so gifted in just comes so easy to us. And so we're like, oh, that can't possibly be
a talent. That can't be a gift.
Anyone
can't be
can
special.
Do that.
Yeah.
And it's not. You're like, no. This is what you need to be honing in on. This is what God gave you to be, to do, to see, to whatever within this lifetime.
I think that there's a level, and tell me if you disagree, I think there's a level that we're programmed to think that nothing good in life comes without hard work.
Yep.
Overexertion, like it's, and not to say that, you shouldn't apply yourself and you shouldn't work, but I think that there's something to be said also for just embracing, those things, and it being okay to say, you know what, this is a gift I have. And,
Absolutely. Because if we say, it goes back to that manifesting. If we say, okay, if I work really, really hard, I can obtain A. And then, but it's like, okay, so if you're saying you're putting out to the universe that you want to work hard, all right, well, you're going to work hard. You're going to work hard.
Karma's a mirror. That law of attraction, that mirror, effect.
Yeah, law of attraction. That's like, so, but if you say, you know what? I want to do this, and I am so grateful for this, and I'm so excited that this is going to happen because this is what my heart desires, and and if it's for our best and highest good, like that is what we should be
yes, I'd agree,
searching for or trying to.
And I think some people look at that and they think of it as lesser, but really, honestly, it takes a lot of work to say that and have that mindset too.
It does,
and a lot of mental clarity, really. So yeah.
Yeah, to try, especially to like try to say to manifest something without there being a negative context in it, right?
Right.
And of where I think that we're just so programmed of, I don't know. It's
sad.
It is. We need to be happy people that that knows that everything that our heart could possibly desire, that like, hey, if you want to be a fashion designer, like do it. Hey, if you want to open up your bookstore, like do it. Just do it. Follow your happiness, because that is the most important thing in life.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, this was awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So, our next episode will be totally amazing. I'm
totally. Oh my gosh.
Excited
I cannot
about it.
wait.
No, me neither.
What are we going to talk about?
I don't know.
Just but it'll be good. It'll be good.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So thank you for listening.
Absolutely. And have a wonderful day. And be bright.
Yes, agreed. Bye.
Bye.